Emily thought it would never end. These swings that lifted her up to that place where she could hear her beloved husband's voice and then suddenly dropped her down into darkness and fear. Right now, it felt like she was at the top. Her husband wasn't Riadam, and Emily had already braced herself for the fall. But nothing happened. She waited a little, then tried to open her eyes. A sharp light, an instant pain. Something around her started beeping and blinking, and in that same moment, a face leaned over her. Emily shut her eyes again. She realized she was in a hospital. People were moving around her, rushing, and she wasn't falling anymore. Strangely, she couldn't understand how she got here, what had even happened. They had been driving with Michael. Then he said he needed something. Emily couldn't remember what exactly. He got out, she kept driving, and on the descent toward their house, the steering wheel suddenly stopped responding. Yes, she remembered now. She had been turning it in panic, but the car didn't react. Then she slammed her foot on the brake, and that was it. She couldn't remember whether the car stopped or not. Emily let out a weak groan. A man's voice immediately said, "It'll get easier soon, don't worry." Sophie was hiding in her usual spot. She knew perfectly her grandmother had told her 100 times that if the staff saw her here, her grandma would lose her job, and then there would be no treats, no ribbons, because her pension barely covered the essentials. Still, she liked it here. She had even decided that when she grew up, she would become a doctor and save everyone. She had been watching that woman for a long time. The woman stayed alone in her room, so hiding there was easy. Though today she woke up. Doctors rushed in, but Sophie hid well. No one would find her. She just hoped her grandma wouldn't notice she was missing, or she'd be in trouble. Just yesterday, her grandma scolded her. "Sophie, what were you doing on the 3rd floor?" The girl pretended to eat and hear nothing, but she knew her grandma wouldn't drop it. "Grandma, I was just walking and then, boom, I ended up there." "And what stopped you from turning back?" "Grandma, you don't get it. It's so interesting there, so beautiful." Her grandmother looked at her stroga. "If I hear about this again, you'll stay home and prepare for school." Sophie had sulked because the 3rd floor was where all the interesting things were, and that woman, the one she was hiding near, was there too. Something strange was happening. The woman had been asleep for days, and her husband kept visiting, but he didn't look sad. He seemed excited, always talking on the phone, saying, "Just wait, a little longer, soon I'll be rich." Sophie didn't like him, and today she saw him again. He stayed only briefly, didn't even greet his wife, just made a face and left. Sophie waited until everyone was gone and slipped out. She needed to show herself to her grandma. Her grandmother was washing the floor. She looked at Sophie and smiled. "Go outside. The weather is beautiful. Just stay in the hospital yard." Sophie ran out. She loved the quiet corners of the park. No one ever went there. "I don't understand what's happening. Did I wake her up? And what do you expect me to do?" Sophie froze, pressing her back against a tree. That voice sounded familiar. She carefully peeked out. It was him, the husband. Why was he so angry? His wife was getting better. He should be happy. "All right, I'm waiting. I'm by the pond." Sophie decided she would wait too. She felt like a real detective. About half an hour later, a young woman appeared. She was incredibly beautiful, but something about her felt wrong. The man rushed to kiss her, but she pulled back. "Let's talk business first." Sophie held her breath. Something wasn't right. "Here, I couldn't stop her from waking up. Put this into the IV. By morning, you'll be free." "But that's murder." "Murder is living off someone's money and not being able to use it. If you don't want to, stay with her. I'll find someone better, rich." "All right, I'll do it." Sophie backed away quietly, then suddenly ran. She was terrified, so much her knees were shaking. She hid in a storage room for a while. When things quieted down, she slipped out again. She knew she shouldn't, but something pulled her back to that room. The woman was awake, and with open eyes, she looked much nicer. Sophie was about to leave quietly, but Emily noticed her. "Hello?" "Hello," Sophie stepped in. "What are you doing here?" "My grandma works here. She cleans floors. I come with her, but she doesn't know I'm here." "Does she treat you badly?" "No, she's good." Emily smiled, and Sophie suddenly felt sorry for her. She was clearly a kind person. Unlike her husband, Sophie hesitated, then spoke. "You shouldn't sleep tonight, not at all, especially at night." Emily looked surprised. "Why?" "I can't tell everything, but your husband is planning something bad." Before Emily could respond, Sophie ran away. Later that evening, Michael came. He hugged Emily quickly, then stepped back and sat down. "How are you?" She wanted him closer, wanted to hold his hand, but something felt off. His hands kept brushing invisible dust from his clothes, a nervous habit she had only seen once before. "Everything's fine now. I have to go." "Michael, are you hiding something?" He flinched. "You're still under medication," and left. Emily couldn't sleep. She kept thinking, analyzing. Maybe the girl was right. She called for a nurse and asked for a phone. Later, someone quietly entered the room. Emily pretended to sleep. The figure approached, moved to the IV stand. Suddenly, the lights were turned on. Michael stood there, holding a syringe. "What are you doing?" Two men stepped out and took it from him. When Emily learned what was inside, she nearly fainted. By morning, her heart would have stopped. He confessed everything about the woman, her relative, now his lover, about the plan, about the car. 2 weeks later, Emily returned home. But instead of staying, she went to find Sophie. An hour later, she stood at a small house. The girl opened the door. "You didn't sleep that night?" "No, and I came to thank you." They sat together. Emily spoke with the grandmother and then said, "Sophie saved my life. I want to help her with school, with everything." The old woman wiped her tears. "We have no one else. If you become family, we'd be grateful." Emily hugged them both. Later, they traveled together, moved into Emily's big house, and on September 1st, they walked Sophie to her new school together.